welcome to our special coverage of the COVID-19 pandemic. My name is Vivian Kai Loco. In a bit, we'll bring you details of the latest on the pandemic, what the numbers are, what that means for us. We'll also look at the global outlook, and then we'll look at some interventions government has put in place to stop the further spread of the virus and how far we've gone with that. Stay with us, we'll be right back. Welcome back to our special coverage of the COVID-19 pandemic. My name is Vivian Kai Loco. Let me introduce to you the gentleman I'll be having today's discussion with, and I have with me Godfred Akoto-Boafo. He's the head of current affairs. He's also on radio in the mornings from 6:30 to 10 o'clock together with Bernard and the rest. Godfred, welcome.
Thank you very much, Vivian.
I also have with me Selom Adonu. He's the head of features and articles here at Citi FM and Citi TV, and he doubles as a lawyer as well. Selom, welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, so gentlemen, let's go straight to today's matters and start with the global outlook. Then we'll come down to Africa and Ghana. So,
okay. Today, I'm going to do this a bit different. I'm not really going to give numbers. People are a bit tired of numbers. Okay, so I'm just going to go into the global headlines of what is happening and what is changing. I think people will be, like to know what is happening.
People are now getting used to numbers coming and going.
Yes.
So let me
do from around the world a bit from what is happening. Now, let's start with Iran. Now, you would recall Iran was one of the hardest hit places with regards to death, and they lost a lot of high personal profile and a lot of high profile personalities.
And all that.
Health ministers died from this. Well, they had a bit of a slowdown, but Vivian, bad news. They have reported an additional 74 coronavirus-related deaths and 1,223 new cases over the past 24 hours, which is an increase from what they had been doing the past week. And so Iran
it's not looking good. What is leading to the case with Iran in terms of death and increase in...
They opened mosques.
Okay, so the congregation of too many not seeing the social
basically system. That is what mosques were reopened. And that plan has not gone too well. So they are having that particular issue there. Now, in Europe as well, we know that a lot of European countries shut down, Vivian. Well, they are getting into the new normal where things are reopening slowly. And I will start you in Italy, for instance. And those who like Italy and all that, they have a cafe culture where people like to go and sit their cafe and do all kinds of things. Well, those kind of businesses some have been allowed to open, but with rules in place. But business is not booming, Vivian, because people are staying home. And so, yes, people are still worried. So cafe owners are like, we've opened, but customers are not coming. So now that is the problem. The shops have been allowed to open, but people just don't want to come. So businesses that were, some of these things were opened with economic reasons in mind, at least to get people to get some revenue. So that does not seem to be working, at least in this week. Now, Spain, yes, they have allowed people outside for solo exercise this weekend for the first time in 7 weeks. Now, they started with kids under 14 who were allowed 1 hour with a parent supervising. But now everybody is allowed for a solo exercise. And that happened.
So how long can you stay out?
And then Portugal have also allowed the opening of small stores, and people in Belgium may now travel on public transport, but everybody must wear a mask. And one of the big questions as well, Vivian, that came up was who cuts the hair? And the barber situation is one that people have been wondering. And so Germany have opened barber shops, and the queues. One hairdresser said that he has been booked for the next 3 weeks.
Wow.
Yes, barber shops across Germany are overflowing. Salon people are just showing up like that. But again, that one to rules
because
apply.
That's very intimate, very close.
So what they are saying in the barber shops are that once you have a seat, the other seats must all be empty. So you cut the and then you go and another person comes. So it's causing a lot of delays, but people are okay, at least they can cut their hair.
Even in in Ghana, you guys haven't been going to the barbering shop for a while. So
yes.
I saw a lot of people
we were trying to shave ourselves and doing our own thing. You know. Well, let me take you to Asia and let's do some topics there as well. Now, Japan will extend its state of emergency until May 31. But the Prime Minister Shinzo Abe says the country must prepare for life with coronavirus. And he was speaking to a task force in Japan. Now, according to him, some areas that have a high infection rate, including Tokyo and Osaka, will keep working to reduce social contacts by 80% to stem the spread of the disease. We all know what has happened in Japan. One of the countries that was touted as doing well, they've stopped paying attention to social distancing and whatnot, and boom, things went bad. Another country that is paying the price heavily is Russia. Vivian, over the weekend on Sunday, over 10,000 new cases in Russia. Vladimir Putin, we are told, initiated a meeting with his government over the weekend, very, very upset, but he can only blame himself. When the situation happened, he played around with it, and so they didn't do. So they are paying the price now for that one. And then I will wrap up with Africa, where a few interesting things are happening. And we've spoken significantly about the magic cure in Madagascar. Yes.
Yeah. So Tanzania has got it, right?
Yeah, well, Guinea-Bissau, Tanzania, and Equatorial Guinea. They are the three countries. They are saying that they are going to buy this unproven. And I have a problem with this.
Well, what's your problem?
No, you see, it's untested.
By who?
Even there, and that is what I'm going to tell you. He says they are going to start testing next week.
So the medical, practitioners or whoever
have the president of Madagascar says the thing that he's giving to people, they'll start testing it next week. But people have already come for the thing and they are drinking it. You see, and we have people have grasped onto this with Pan-Africanism and solidarity. We are not promoting anything. Look, the thing is untested. You are going to do this, people are going to get certain after effects, and they will come and blame somebody else.
Okay, so we still support them.
So that is what is happening, and he's always. These days, he's always captured with the bottle in hand, taking a sip of the Madagascar juice.
So this is to prevent you or for if you
COVID
have
organics. Yeah, to cure. He says it is a cure.
Okay,
yes, this is to cure.
He's just drinking,
he's boosting his immune system with that one. Let me give you two more. Well, Nigeria, in Nigeria, Kano, which was one of the hardest hit areas, they've opened markets in Kano, but there are time limits put in place. You can only do the markets, and that is for only fruit and vegetables. You can do that from 10 in the morning to 4, and then you return back home.
Is it Kano that they had
the unexplained
isolation center destroyed? There was one that arranged. About 80 million for that.
Yes.
Okay, interesting.
But they have also seen a significant rise in cases. And then I will wrap up with your good friend in Tanzania, Magufuli, who has suspended the director of Tanzania's National Health Laboratory because, according to him, he did some underground work to see if the test results that were being announced were proper and credible, and they failed. He said he had engine oil put in there, pawpaw put in there, all kinds of substances put there in the test samples and labeled as human beings, and all of these tests were passed as positive. Some were false positives and whatnot, according to the president. And so because of that, he has suspended the director of Tanzania's National Health Lab and its quality manager, and has asked that they be investigated. And I can give you a quote. He says, for instance, we put vehicle oil labeled as Jabir Hamza, aged 30, male. It tested negative. We sent a jackfruit sample, which we named Sarah Samueli, 45-year-old female. Results were inconclusive. We sent papaya, named it Elizabeth Ann, aged 26. That papaya was positive. Look, Victor, and all kinds of things are happening we don't know. We don't know what is happening in Tanzania. But what we do know is that there has been significant criticism of the approach being used in Tanzania. In fact, Tanzanian MPs, opposition MPs, are saying they are not going to parliament because 3 MPs died over the weekend, unexplained causes, and they are saying once they don't know, they are not going back into parliament. So, Vivian, these are some of the fascinating headlines that
really interesting.
I can give you from across the world and in Africa.
Okay, the Tanzania story is very interesting. Let's come to Ghana. We don't have such interesting cases, do we, Selo?
Our cases, maybe generally, Ghanaians are a bit, should I say, maybe enlightened in respect of many of these things. So, our cases, our stories have been a bit normal, not, attracting such bizarre, attracting attention for their bizarre nature. So, yes, our figures have remained the same since 2 days ago. So the confirmed cases we know as 2,169, recoveries 229, and then 18 deaths. Let me just give you a ballpark figure of what's happening on the African continent. So we have a total of 45,599 cases across the continent, a total of 1,806 deaths. So that's what generally the situation looks like on the continent. A few headlines also. Ugandans have donated 6 million to government for the fight against the disease or the virus. I think in Ghana we're doing our own bit with the trust fund and a number of people donating to that. Rwanda is reopened after 45 days of lockdown, and they are taking it quite easy and enjoying the freedom. But they've said
that they still have the security all over the place.
There's some. They've said they'll maintain curfews, for the night, and queues, have also been reported in South Africa. A lot of them have begun going to it because they've eased the lockdown restrictions.
They were struggling with feeding the poor and the vulnerable.
So they've eased the lockdown restrictions a bit. So now people are able to go to work, but they're advised to keep the social distancing protocols amongst other things. Nigerians, though the lockdown has been eased. In the city of Lagos, known for a lot of the traffic, the streets are virtually empty. People, in quote, are afraid to go out for fear of contracting the disease. And in Kenya too, there's some mass testing going on, but the report is that a lot of people are not coming out to be tested, maybe because they are scared of testing positive. I think
is a Kenya that if you contract the disease, you pay for your own care. That's
even in quarantine, you pay for your own cost of quarantine. The guys here were chilling and complaining.
Yeah,
Kenya they gave somebody a bill. The person almost died.
And I hear it's about over $100 a day or so.
No, I don't know why they are doing that, Godfrey, but I think the state should take up this because this is a pandemic. The state should take up this. What happens to somebody who is poor? I mean, the state should take up this.
No, but these ones actually started with those who had returned to the country from abroad. And their issue was, you need 14 days. After 14 days, they were expecting results. They said after the 14 days, results were not coming. And it was extended another week. After 21 days, they didn't have money. So they tried, that's why they scaled the wall and left.
Okay.
So interesting. So generally, that's what the situation is.
Okay. So Ghana, we still have the numbers 2,169 as of 3:13 on the 4th of May, and our deaths still at 18 as at 3:13 on the 4th of May, and then also we have 229 recoveries. So let's look at the issue with the recoveries. Our figures are a bit low, but I want to take you to Kolebu Teaching Hospital. This video has been trending since this morning or yesterday or so. The patients that were admitted at Kolebu for contracting the coronavirus, we are told they've all recovered, and they received some GS and claps and ovation when they were made to go. So let's look at that quickly, then we'll look at our recoveries as a country. So a very nice one over there, people are now fine. They can go about their normal duties. But our recovery level is still low, isn't it? 229 for cases.
Our recovery levels quite low. I mean, the levels are quite low when you compare what we have to what other countries with similar numbers have. You realize that our numbers are quite low. But again, I don't know what that is attributed to. Let me give you a few figures in respect to that. So Nigeria now has more cases than Ghana. Nigeria has 2,558 cases. They've had 400 people recovering. Cameroon has some cases lower than Ghana in terms of case counts, 2,077. They have 953 people recovering. Guinea has 1,586. They've had 405 recoveries. Ivory Coast, 1,398. They have 653 recoveries. Senegal has 1,182. They have 372 recoveries. I mean, it goes on and on. But Ghana has 2,169 cases, but has 229 recoveries. I don't know what this is what this is indicative of, or what this can be attributed to. But my thinking is that maybe the way Ghana passes of its people as recovered, maybe it's a bit stricter, or it's quite different.
Other countries,
I don't know what other countries. If you recall, there was a time that we said 30 or 31 people had recovered, when really they were just discharged for home care and that kind of thing. But it was recorded by international media as the number of recovered people. So I don't know what the protocols are. I know Ghana is trying to follow some rigorous or strict WHO standards. I don't know whether the situation is the same for other places. I don't know whether if you are discharged after a while to go and continue care at home, people record same as having recovered. I'm not sure. But in any case,
but the number of people who are at home, who are going through their isolation and all that at home, are the numbers higher than those in our facilities?
We don't know that. They only tell us that a number of people are well and responding to treatment, either in facilities or in their homes. That data hasn't been disaggregated, so we don't know what it is. I think it would be useful to have that separated, so it can help our understanding of how the disease is behaving as far as its mobility and recoveries are concerned. So it's difficult to understand why our recoveries are low. I don't know what these other people are doing that is raising their recovery figures. So South Africa, for example, 6,783 people. They've had 2,500 recoveries. That is quite some good news. So Ghana, in a class of its members, I mean people with similar case counts, appears to have the lowest recovery rates. Tunisia, for example, has 1,013 cases, 332 have recovered. Djibouti has 1,112 cases, 686 people have recovered. So I think it would be useful to do some work into this. I mean, our authorities must do some comparative analysis and see what the other countries are doing that we are not doing. Compare notes and see how we can improve.
Okay, Godfred, I'll come to you a bit, unless you.
On the same point that he was making, even on the Senegal one. Senegal has a recovery rate of almost 61%, which is quite high. As compared to Morocco and Senegal and Morocco, it's good to make that comparison because they all had recorded cases around the same time, and patients recovered. While Algeria has reported a rate of 30%, South Africa has 18%, Cameroon has 15%. And according to Senegalese authorities, they themselves are struggling to explain why their recoveries are the way they are. Some have attributed it to the use of the hydroxychloroquine, but the director of the Pasteur Institute that we were all praising last week has also said it could be other factors that are there. But what they must all understand is that the coronavirus is there. It can change at any point in time. So at the moment, they don't really have a scientific explanation for why their recoveries are the way they are as compared to other countries. Because, for instance, in Morocco, which has a significant death rate, the enforcement of wearing the mask is quite high. In Senegal, it's quite low.
And then,
but on the flip side of it, they seem to be doing much better than Morocco. So there seem to be a few things in there that
very interesting. Very interesting point. So again, Burkina Faso 622 cases and 540 recoveries, which means they just have 77 active cases. Interesting point Godfred makes. So could it be, so they can't explain it scientifically, so could it also be that it's as a result of their local food and the things they eat, local behaviors, things they do locally, lifestyle. So for example, when you go to certain communities, they depend purely on herbs, they eat herbs, etc. And those things, as we know, I mean, the coronavirus, the COVID-19 has no cure or treatment yet. So we've been told to boost our immune system. Could it be that those things they've eaten over the past immunity or boosting their immune system? I think it would be interesting for some study or some analysis to be run on why things are so, and I'm sure that will help in arriving at some good conclusions.
Okay, let me take you back to Kolebu, because we've been speaking to the nursing officer in charge of the Kolebu COVID-19 treatment center. She's called Jocelyn Owusu-Ansah. She's been explaining some of these things to us. Let's have a watch.
We are so elated and happy about the recoveries, and indeed it's 100% recovery for Kolebu Teaching Hospital, and we are very happy about it. All our clients as well were very happy, and before they left, they all gave us their experiences and how happy they are. When they went home, we have called to find out how they were accepted back into the home, and actually all of them were well accepted. They are at the moment still isolating for 1 week, and then after a week they will come for review and then isolate again for another week before they are fully integrated into the society.
How many patients are we talking about here?
Those are 7.
And all of them, can you tell us who they are? We understand that they are health professionals.
Yes, they are health professionals. We had one doctor. One security personnel.
Usually when we hear about patients, there's a distinction between some who are asymptomatic, some who had mild symptoms, some who had severe symptoms. In what categories were these persons in?
Well, for our patients, we will say that one of them had almost all the symptoms of COVID-19.
Okay, so that's Madam Jocelyn speaking over the interesting. All of them cleared all the numbers they had initially. Everybody good to go and all that. But one thing that we keep seeing in Ghana is the type of cases we see.
The mild cases.
We keep registering a lot of mild cases, which also brings to Salam's question about how, in our case, why we keep seeing mild cases like the others who are seeing critical and all that.
Well, a lot of a country that seems to be experiencing a similar trend is India. And if you look at India, that has led to them doing the easing down, because they've just come to the conclusion that, well, we have a lot of people here, but if we look at the number of cases we are recording a lot of mild cases, so we might as well just get on with our lives, in a certain way. Again, there has been a difficulty in explaining this. There are those who have attributed this to the weather, but again, this is open to medical debates. There are those who are saying the virus thrives in colder climes than it does in warmer climes, and so in winter periods, if you look at the data, it will show that at the peak of the cold season, the virus was impacting a significant portion of Europe, but we are in much warmer climes. Again, there isn't any conclusive.
Because if you go to Niger, they are having high numbers.
Conclusive medical opinions on this. So I don't really want to go there. Whatever it is, it should stay that way. Whatever it is, it should stay that way. We don't want to have a situation where our health system is overwhelmed by the serious cases where that even generates a certain level of fear. Because if you look at our health professionals, it got to a point where initially when they are told there's a COVID case coming, they run away initially. And this is not somebody who's in a serious case. This is just a mild case who's just showing up with symptoms. People are running away. So we don't want to have a situation where we are dealing with 20, 30 serious cases at the same time in our medical facilities. That will bring a certain level of stress to our health infrastructure. So whatever it is that is working now, it should work. But caution, again, is the watchword when it comes to this. The virus has proven to be a virus that seems to be changing every day, seems to be testing the limits of medical science on a daily basis. So one might say that, well, the expected damage to Africa, that because of our weak health infrastructure, has not come. Why is it so and what not? We might celebrate, and then 2-3 months down the line, we are taken unawares by just serious cases. Every case is serious, simply because maybe the virus might have adapted to the situation. We don't want that. So whatever it is that is going on now, it should stay that way.
Okay, let's
say. So the Kolebu, quite interesting and quite some good news that 7 people who were on admission there have all been cleared. I don't know whether all of them were cleared on Saturday or they were cleared over a period, so that's fine. But it will also be important to know what exactly they did to the people. I know the treatments are general across the board, but it will be interesting to know how the treatment was administered, what the patient healthcare worker relationship was that plays a role in recovery. It will also be important to know the age dynamics of the people, of those people who are admitted to the places, because we know that people of a higher age struggle more with the disease than people who are younger. So it will be interesting to have all this information, and that will help us.
That's also interesting because
appreciation of the issue
on that particular line, I've seen numbers. That's again, you see, that's why we've been asking for some of these numbers to be made public to help the analysis. Even if you look at Greater Accra, for instance, the affliction rate seems to be 21 to 35. It doesn't affect the older people that much, at least for the numbers.
Is it that the younger people are more exposed to the disease?
We don't know, but that's what I'm saying. That seems to be what the trend is. The highest percentile for the Greater Accra, which seems to be the hotspot, so I want to use the Greater Accra, shows that if we are looking at the age range, we are looking at between 21 and 35.
Yeah, but I don't think it's about the infection. I think it's about doing well in the disease, recovery or death. So if you are older,
might also be
So if you are older,
the reason why,
the general thinking is that your immune system is not as robust as somebody who is younger, and also the more older you get, or the older you get, the likelihood of you having 1 or 2 ailments in your system, these non-communicable diseases, which become part of your life and which play a role in weakening your immune system. So I think this could be factors. So it may affect a lot of people, but their recoveries and how they do well in the disease, I think, will depend on a lot of these factors. You get my point? So it will be interesting to understand all these, and they should share their notes. I think by now the GHS should be coordinating that, ensuring that the various centers are sharing notes with all these parameters and all these variables to ensure that they are doing what is optimum, what is best for everybody. That's how we evolve, treatment protocols. It's working this way here, it's not working that way there. Can we compare those? Can we switch and see what happens? Can we adopt 1 or 2 things? If it works there, then that becomes a way you treat your people. Because this disease is new, it's novel, we don't even know the treatment yet. So people are just trying many things. So if something is working here, not working so well there, it will be important to compare and see what you can get from that.
Okay, we'll take a quick break in a bit, but before that, let's wrap up on the vaccine thing. We know in Africa, Madagascar is the one that's come up with whether it's a herb, whether it's a concoction or whatever, but we know elsewhere in Europe and the likes, they've started testing vaccines and all that. If we could go quickly through in general, globally, what the situation is with vaccines, because we need to really deal with this virus.
Well, there are a few things happening. For instance, there's money. People are trying to find the money. For instance, I know that the European Commission has decided to put in voted €1 billion or so to support funding for the vaccine. We know that in the US, remdesivir, done by Gilead, seems to be the one that is taking the lead. And then there's another one produced by a company called Moderna, as well, that is being heavily tested in the US. In fact, it's that one seems to be generating a bit of controversy because people are raising questions about the history of the company. This is a company that has never really put out an FDA-tested vaccine for anything, but seems to be one of the companies that is in the lead with this one, and is testing in a novel way as well, and people have raised all kinds of questions. So there is that. Now, if you come to our side, for instance, we've been told we do best with the herbal side. So Madagascar is doing this. We hope it goes well. Our own Center for Plant Medicine have also said that they will find ways of doing this, and they normally work on the quiet, but they are very effective. So it's the money that will help, because these things cost money. Vivian. If you look at companies being given $3 billion, one company, somebody's giving them $3 billion to go and look for one vaccine. $3 billion, we need. We went
to the IMF for $1 billion to deal with the economy.
To save the economy. So how are we going to give Center for Plant Medicine $1 billion to find us a corona vaccine?
Yeah.
But the reason why it's important, Vivian, it's a disease that globally has a lot of countries worried. But let us also not close our eyes, Vivian. Countries are spending money on this because eventually it will become a matter of commerce. Yeah. Eventually, whichever country's company gets this right, there are significant benefits. And once that is done, everybody's talking about, oh, there's a free market, there's a need to share for this. I bet you, Vivian, you will see subtle blocks being put in place to protect whichever country's company gets this right, so that they benefit from it. Because who should spend $1 billion for you to enjoy it for free, especially on a scale like this? This is kind of like the chase for the cancer cure, for pharmaceutical companies. And so it's something that we should look at. We hope it happens fast enough. Although, some of, like the Madagascar one that they claim is working, maybe somebody should take it and go and check quickly. I don't know, but
it will be done, and
we'll see.
You will be put to shame.
Yes, so the remdesivir, I've been reading quite a bit on it. It's actually a drug for they prepared or produced or manufactured for Ebola, but it didn't quite deal with it. So the Gilead Science people, the biotech company which is doing this, they are quite positive about it. The U.S. health agencies are still in the process of validating or trying it clinically. And so far, what has been said is that it has the ability or the capability of reducing, hospital times or diminishing the time to recovery from like 15 days to about 11 days. And that is quite a good thing. And Anthony Fauci, who runs one of those institutions, says that the drug had a clear-cut, significant positive effect in diminishing the time to recovery. So that's quite some good thing happening there. And a lot of people, about 1,063 people have been tested already or treated with this, and some are in the process of recovering, which is quite some good news. In terms of cost, there is a non-profit organization that normally comments on prices of medicine, etc. And they came out to say, and they are quite conservative in their estimates, they came out to say that they were looking at the cost, costing about $4,500 per person, for the whole cost till you are well. And that's quite high. Others are saying that is quite a very high estimate. But given the history of this organization, they are very conservative in their estimates. So it appears it may even be high. But the good thing again about that is that the Gilead Science people have said that we're going to donate about 1.5 million of the vials to the country if it's proven to work. So they're going to make a lot of money out of this eventually. If they have to sell, or they have to sell it for $1,000 even per treatment. They make a lot of money, and there are rights issues surrounding this. So they'll make money for a long period of time before other people start following suit.
And Vivian, for me, a bit of geopolitics and perhaps also a bit of time to reflect on our own state as Africa. Global conference to raise funds. We are not at the table. Yeah, they are raising funds to find a vaccine for COVID.
We can't go to the table now.
There is the kind of countries that are meeting.
Hey, we are mentioning 3 billion and things. Where are you at the table? 1 million or 500,000?
So EU says we are putting $1 billion. Look, EU, scrap your pockets and say this is our 20 million. Put some money in the pot.
Okay, hold on with that thought. We'll come back to that. Hold on with that thought, and we'll be right back. And then we'll look at being at the table, and then we'll look at other matters that are arising from this COVID thing. Stay with us.
Janum, Hello to the youth out there. My name is Mahamudu Bawumia, Vice President of the Republic. I would like to talk to you about the coronavirus pandemic that we are dealing with at the moment. It is a virus that has infected people worldwide, and over 107,000 people have died from it. It is a virus that is transmitted either through touching somebody, shaking their hands, that they can transmit the virus if they are positive, or through sneezing, coughing, that can bring out droplets, which can touch you. So this is how it is generally transmitted. And because of that, we have the science telling us that we should try and maintain distances between people, 1 meter to 2 meters of distances, so that the droplets will not be able to travel very far. It is therefore very important that we follow the instructions that have been given to all of us. Minimize or don't shake anybody's hands.
So yeah, welcome back to a special coverage of a COVID-19 pandemic. My name is Vivian Kailok. I'm here with Godfred Akoto-Boafo and also Salam Adonio. We're looking at the vaccine, the cost, and Godfred will say being at the table. And Salam says the table, there are men and there are boys. Perhaps we belong to the boys.
No, I'm just saying it's unfortunate.
But we've never claimed to be men, Godfred.
No, really.
We've never claimed to be men. When we beg to feed our own people.
Yeah. You know, but Vivian, the point is, this should serve, people talk about the world changing and people reflecting. Mm-hmm. Perhaps this is also one of those moments for Africa and its countries that the world is pulling together to find a solution. Mm-hmm. We are sitting with our arms folded. We can say, yes, in Ghana we are trying to find our own herbal solutions and whatnot.
But realistically, can we be at the table?
No, I'm saying we can do what we can to contribute.
Yeah.
But we should not sit down. We should not contribute. We should not sit back completely. That is my concern, because eventually, when it happens, you see, there's a reason why they are trying to raise 8 billion. European Commission pledged 1 billion to fund. Everybody knows Norway has a lot of money. Saudi Arabia says 500 million. France says 500 million. Germany says 500 million. US, China, and Russia are not taking part. Okay. Russia is doing their own thing. Now, Russia, they have scaled like 6 or 7 steps in a bid to find a cure. We know the Americans and Trump are also doing their own thing to find a cure. We just spoke about Remdesivir. We've spoken about Moderna and Gilead and all the companies. The China, too, are doing their own thing. They have normally done their own thing. Yeah. But even as a continent, these are all the big countries in the world. Where are we being mentioned in this conversation?
So AU should be at the table.
Yeah.
The same way the EU is.
Yes, EU is at the table. EU says 1 billion. But AU owes money because we don't pay debt anyway. AU has no money. But it's a crying shame, Vivian, that at this point in time, when the whole world is continental, everybody is pulling their strength together. Once again, we find ourselves lacking.
Wow. So we'll see whether
it's shameful, but you see the concerns or the troubles of Africa are different.
That's an excuse.
We struggle with bread and butter issues. Even in Ghana, you're struggling to feed your vulnerable. Yeah. The vulnerable people say they've not been fed, and you don't even know how to do it, because for our local institutions, Noguchi, thanks to the Japanese, KCR, thanks to the Germans. Yeah. Had it not been these two countries
kept it alive until this point,
we would have been in deep trouble. So even locally, we don't even know how to do it. And now you for the AU, yes, I could understand, because AU should be able to maybe represent a lot of us. So AU maybe pledging $100 million could have been nice. It would have put Africa at a certain level. It would have been good. Yeah. But here we are, we don't have it. AU has not even been able to help its member countries deal with some of the issues. Yeah. So it's quite a difficult time for Africa. to be mentioned at the table, and especially as the situation hasn't really peaked at Africa, and a lot of the superstitious beliefs that Africans have, etc. The people who appear to be making a lot of the donations are the people being ravaged really by the disease, recording deaths in the tens of thousands. Africa has just 1,800 deaths, so and less than 50,000 infections. It's priority, girlfriend. Priority. So you have people to feed, and you have an investment to make in the search for a vaccine. The people are hungry today. You may not even get to that number. And the hope and prayer of Africa is that by the time we get the vaccine or the treatment would have been ready.
Okay, that's why we are sticking with the compliance and all that. But we're going through with that. Let me take you to the Central Business District, because today people who had refused to wear the face masks were turned away. Let's look at that video quickly.
When I was stopped, I wasn't surprised that I was stopped, because as somebody who has been educated and I know well about the virus, it was a negligence on my part that maybe I was late today, so I forgot my mask at home, and I was thinking I might be stopped today, and it happened. So it's one of those things, but I think they are doing the right thing, and I encourage that everybody try to put on their masks for our own safety.
Would you agree that was a big risk that you took coming out without your mask?
Of course, yeah, it was a big risk. When I was coming, I was thinking about it deep down in my head. What could make me forget my mask at home? And I was thinking, oh, maybe because of the my lateness to work today, that caused all this.
This is my desk and I take cover my mouth.
But the tester is not a mask, it cannot protect you.
Okay. So I will use them by.
So what will you do now?
So I will buy to use them.
You buy one?
Yes.
Okay, but where are you coming from and where are you going?
At the sell market.
Yes. So now if you ask to go back home, what will you do?
Me now? If I won't go back.
If the police say don't sell, go back home because you don't have the mask, what will you do?
I'll go use my money buy to use them.
Enkume me say sayadiano say ya ura yesu din hihye ya na se me yo tiri ni me nante nyame akwanso pepepe na se sayadie wonkumi free wiase but adwuma no ye wani die wo pani wonwo bia for respect mano fani die ma hwede wo besi ni pakona dai akasa because me pani mo sino wonko fa sabonkum ni me kasa ba hatie what you see? Huh? No kasa rough. Me a penny musino. Me a home woman in Panamachina. 2 million hour and no right, yes. 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 Say, well, who's the Yabe with them? And anytime you own for respect for war, why you crack for woman, why you penmocraft for woman, for respect to be the whole Ghana. I crack me Buno, Penmoquami Buno, and just don't go police that idea. Now, Wobia, none in the Paconic Casapa hat here, and your respect. 80 for Bomo Bibiala. For Bomo Bibiala. Yes, my dear. Minister.
na me buy no kasa ogu bi o se me de ma no na me de ma na me fa che o se ye no me no ye nti o e na o ka no wo de o de bo ho ban but ni pa o no mo sign no so no e de na e so ngo ho ban ti yes so
ora yesu na bo ho ban anapa awia anajo se won ye mfonso bia na nya bane bia la ora yesu won jama saya de obi tu da bia da anajo ora yesu ni
Many say a colonial values war. Yet, I mean, you say yes, you need a great change. Colonial values. I didn't was a Mijidi. I mean, to me, I make kind Bible when we give your Bible.
The people who have kind of resisted or say they don't want to wear, I can't count even up to 5. Majority of the people are in support, and they are encouraging us to even do more. What we also do is that when it's a commercial vehicle, we expect that from the RCC directives, the drivers are supposed to ensure that even passengers wear nose masks before they board their vehicles. So when we see a trotro vehicle with passengers in, we try to also find out from them whether if you are not wearing.
Wow, so that's some interesting one there. Let's start from the education, sensitization, and the religion thing that is now playing, a role in this whole thing.
The religion part was always going to be significant in this country, be it Christian, be it Muslim, be it traditional belief. And that is why there are those who have said that people at the forefront of this should be church leaders, should be our mosque leaders, should be our fetish priests and priestesses and herbalists and whoever it is, because they live in the community. They know the language of the people and they know the weak points. They know how to communicate with the people. They have the minds of the people. And so they should have been the first call of education, especially at the community level, so that people would understand some of these things. You understand? Because whoever you are, at a certain point, even you have to pay heed to the shepherd of the flock. Whichever side of the religious divide you are, there is somebody who leads that flock. And once that person speaks and says, well, this is what our doctrine teaches us, and this is what we have to do, people normally comply. There might be those who are different, but at least generally they would have complied. And there's still an opportunity to do that. That chance hasn't gone away. We can still do this emphatically. But what hasn't also helped is the fact that churches are closed, mosques are closed.
So how do
I don't know
they
about
do
the
that?
shrines being closed.
The shrines are still open, because we had a case today where some people went to a shrine. So the shrines are still open. Yes,
the shrines are open.
Oh yes.
So so
it's not a crowded place.
A lot of people to be at a shrine.
So maybe if they had been opened in this period, there would have been a wider coverage of persons to impart this message onto. But then again,
but they have in certain cases where they have the online services, they can be, but cases where they can't reach people through the online.
But
I get what you mean.
If we go to the CBD, who's doing online church there?
Yes, I agree. In that sense,
nobody's doing online. Yes, nobody's doing online church there. They are in the community. You have to go to their communities and engage with them. And we need more. That's why I said that with the president, and I've held the position that with the president agreeing to lift the partial restrictions, the funding and whatnot that we're using for feeding the people and whatnot should be realigned into a considerable education effort. I personally don't think that we have seen that additional verve. It looks to me like it's the same level of education. In fact, some would even tell you that perhaps maybe the education has been pulled back.
Yes, that's what
so now they aren't even telling you about it anymore. It's been, you see a few on TV, on radio.
What we are seeing is coming from private sector and corporate who are running arts, and then they're pushing the education.
Certainly.
I stand to be corrected. Government-wise, you are not really seeing
you don't
like
really
before.
see the impact. So there's still a lot to be done, you see, because Vivian, one way or the other, you're not in the woods. Touch wood, and forgive the pun, touch wood, you get a resurgence of this. You still have to go back and educate people. So why don't you just spend the time and educate people ahead of time, one way or the other? It's just good general knowledge to have that this is what it is. Clean your hands, social distance and whatnot, and we will all be safe. But we can really do better with education.
Hello.
Well, education is important. It all shows that the level of education on the matter and engagement, we've not had enough of that. And indeed, it's been actually scaled back. We need to see an improvement in the level of education we give. And you see, if you are embarking on public education drives like this, the messenger is as equally important as the message itself. Who do you use to get to those people? Use people amongst themselves. Get trained people amongst themselves. Let them understand the situation, the disease, and talk to them. If they hear it from their own people, they are more likely to understand it or accept it. That is why it was important to deal with the churches, to ensure that the pastors and the imams and the church leaders and the mosque leaders were involved in this, so that they would take the fight like theirs, go into the communities and talk to their members. People respect their pastors, people respect their imams. On the specific issue of the two women talking about faith is a very complicated matter, and faith has a way it intertwines with culture, and that is the way we live. You know, for example, you know, Jesus is a healer. You know, Bible says that your word is medicine to my body or to my bones. That is what somebody believes. And we've had people who have had very debilitating ailments or illnesses. They've gone to the hospitals. The hospitals have had no clue, but they went, they prayed, and they were healed. So for people like this, they've lived the experience. So it cannot be the same approach we use in dealing with everybody. That should apply to everybody. Now, one other thing. So I'm not saying what she said was right or wrong. She may have had a point that she believes this is it.
The realities of it.
Yes, but and again, this is law enforcement, and so the fact that you believe in this doesn't mean that the law should not apply to you. The law must equally apply to you. She made a point also that they did not speak to her well before the senior officer came in. And the fact that you are a police officer trying to enforce something, of course, the law must be blind, the law must be enforced. But they've told us that they are doing this with a humanitarian face. So let's look at the specific cases. The end result is that the enforcement will be done. But the methodology, the approach to the enforcement could be tweaked a bit to suit various, you know, purposes. So this one, for example, this is what she's saying. She doesn't believe in it, blah, blah, blah. You could engage her in a different way, like the way the senior officer was trying to do. Talk to her nicely, because you're saying that she's older than the guy. Age really doesn't matter, but this is somebody, you could see she's very cultural. I'm older than you. You don't talk to me that way. You don't talk to me with your left hand, you know. So our law enforcers must bear these things in mind. These are little things which even affect communication. The you know, the ability of the message to percolate or go down to the people sometimes are inhibited by some of these cultural blocks. Speaking to me with your left hand when you know I'm older than you, or what do you think? You are calling me anyhow. You don't address me by sister or brother or Mrs. All this. So when you are dealing with people, you must take into consideration a lot of these things. But it only shows that we have a lot more work to do when it comes to education. A lot more work to do.
Now, what I noticed today on my way to work, if I sampled about 100% of the people I bumped into from my house to this place, including food vendors and all that, were not wearing the masks. Now, we know that the security forces have said they don't intend to arrest people and prosecute, but is it time they considered that to get people to really go by the rule?
People are also saying that where are the masks? And it's a genuine question. You see, again, there's been a lot of instruction on how to make your own mask, how to do this. But in the same way that we did not expect people to be able to afford a square meal a day, it's the same way you don't expect those same people to suddenly have the wherewithal to make masks.
But you can do a simple one at home. Must it be with a calico and all that? Must it be?
But not everybody has a sewing machine in the house to do it.
No, you don't need a sewing machine. You can do a thread and needle. You don't need to buy.
But they don't have it.
You can. How much does it cost?
You see, the point I'm making is we can decide to break this down.
Yeah.
But the point is this: in every place where they've emphasized, there's been a certain level of state interest and support in providing some of these masks. Now we were told, and I made this point last week, from the 7th, from the 7th of April, that 150,000 masks were going to be ready a day. 150,000 to produce in total 3.6 million face masks. That is a huge volume of face masks. That is a huge volume that is good enough, and especially if you know who you are dealing with, perhaps make the reusable type as the dominant one. The policemen in town are holding it. They meet you.
They arrest you. I mean, when they see without
a mask, they give you a mask. That way you have no excuse. So, for instance, in the CBD here, the CBD in Kumasi, CBD in Sunyani, CBD in Tamale, all those places, you give. If we distribute 50,000 masks across the 16 regions of this country, what is the total number? Will we not have enough for health personnel as well? Or we are reserving the 3.6 million masks for health personnel? Okay, see, because the situation is this: if you don't provide the mask and the situation escalates, it is the health personnel who will struggle. Okay, and at this point, once you've made it the primary mode of your intervention, you have to augment in a certain way. So you don't say wear the face mask, you are producing the face mask. It's been 3 weeks since you promised to produce the face mask. Maybe you are distributing it somewhere we don't know. But if the capacity as announced by the health minister, and you see, in this country we must take statements seriously. I am not a fan of the health minister speaking and making categorical statements on one day and the following day telling me that is not what I meant. You are reading from a piece of paper on a platform that is national. These were not off-the-cuff comments where you say, oh, you met me in a corner. You were standing on a platform addressing the nation. So you came with a prepared statement where you said that I can provide you 150,000 face masks to be made available. Where are those face masks?
On daily basis.
Where are the masks?
Where are the masks? Hello, you'll find
if
out
not even for the people, where are they?
It's a good thing to enforce a rule, but again, as Godfrey said, where are the masks? When the regional minister, after making the statement, of course, that statement subsequently was backed by some law when the Minister for Health, based on the Public Health Act and the EI 61 he issued earlier, made the same thing. I mean, wearing of the mask mandatory. So when the minister was speaking, the regional minister, he was asked what happens to people who are poor and cannot afford. And I think he made a point to the effect that if you cannot afford, they will help you. Yeah. So look at the ladies, the people we've seen. For them, it doesn't even exist. So for them to use their hard-earned money, I don't know what job they do, their hard-earned money to purchase a mask, very secondary. Because first of all, what they are thinking about is how to feed themselves and their family. The masks go for, I thought it was 2 cedis, but they go for 5 cedis and above. Yeah. Yesterday I saw a very weak and not very nice one. They sold it for 5 cedis in front of me in a provision shop. I was very surprised, but I didn't comment because that's business. These people, for them, buying a mask will be secondary. So where are the social intervention aspect of the distribution of the mask? Give it out to the people. Of course, if every day you have 50,000 masks you give out across the CBDs in all the regions, you may say that you are wasting them because tomorrow you would have given the same person again. But you look at that cost versus the cost of what would have happened if you don't do that. This is a smaller cost, and I think our people must ensure that the free masks they promised, they deliver them or distribute them to the people so we can all be safe. Not everybody can afford it. Okay. It's important we wear it. It's important the law is enforced. But when you're enforcing the law, you look at the other side. Can the people afford it? So are you punishing them unnecessarily because they cannot afford it?
Okay. Right, gentlemen, thank you very much for your time. Godfrey Akoto-Boafo.
Always a pleasure.
Hopefully we'll get some new figures today, right? But for the past 2 days, we've not had any figure.
No figures will come up.
No new figures. We want them to come and tell us, okay, today is 0 days. It's 4th. Everything is 0, 0, 0. We'll be happy with that.
Okay, so there's a presser tomorrow, Tuesdays and Thursdays. So hopefully tomorrow we'll hear something. But thank you so much for joining us. My name is Vivian Kai Loco. Goodbye.